Lisa Booth, I'm about to steal your point going into the next guest. Talk about a seamless treat. Yes, I am.
You can.
In rare form, I'm giving you credit for that. Lisa Booth, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tucker. Have a great
Jonathan
night.
Harris joins us right now. He's a Democratic political commentator. Ms. Harris, thank you very much for coming on. So I'm going to, again, crib it right from Lisa Booth.
Right.
Democrats last week voted for a physical barrier on our border. What are we arguing about exactly?
Because there's a difference between a physical barrier. It's like the Secure Fence Act in 2006. There's a difference between a physical barrier, most of which is already in place, and a concrete wall, which is what Trump wants.
What's the difference?
There's fencing, which Trump had criticized. He criticized the existing fencing that's there right now.
Leaving Trump out of it, I mean, just as an American, what is the difference?
Well, I don't know how to leave Trump out of it. This is all about him.
Okay, but he's not here. I'm just wondering. So Democrats voted for a physical barrier, and now they're shutting down the government because Trump wants a different kind of physical barrier. What's the difference between the physical barriers? What about his physical barrier is more offensive than their physical barrier?
Well, I would say I would change it a little bit to say that Trump is shutting down the government.
Okay, whatever. The debate, that's fine. I'll give you that. I don't even care.
Right.
What is the difference between what they have voted for and what he's proposing?
I think it hinges less upon what is there and more about the $5 billion that he wants to build something else. They've already voted in support of fencing there. Trump actually criticized it. They're not necessarily talking about the wall itself as much as they're saying we're not giving you $5 billion to do something. I think it was a CBS report that said a wall would take care of a third of illegal immigration because that's not where it comes from. It's a waste of money.
So it's a waste of money. So Democrats are budget hawks now.
Last time we had a balanced budget was under Clinton. So, I mean, kind of.
I think we can thank the tech boom and the Republican Congress. That whatever, Republicans are profligate spenders. I'm not here to defend their fiscal continence. I'm merely saying the idea that Democrats are upset, willing to shut down the government over $5 billion of spending is so stupid that I can't actually take it serious.
The problem.
That's not really what it's about.
The problem with that being, they're not the ones that shut down the government. Trump said, I would be proud to shut down the government over the border wall.
As a rational matter.
This is his shutdown.
Okay, whatever. So whatever shutdown it is, Democrats are saying his proposal is immoral, their proposal is moral. What's the difference between a moral and an immoral physical barrier on our border?
Because one doesn't cost $5 billion.
So it's the cost that's immoral. So any time that we spend $5 billion needlessly, we're committing an immoral act.
It's not about committing an immoral act.
Oh, that's what the Speaker of the House said.
Right,
that it's immoral.
This is about spending $5 billion to build a wall that is ineffective to address illegal immigration, which does not come from our southern border predominantly, but comes from legal ports of entry.
So in a federal budget of over $1 trillion, if I could find another example of $5 billion we spent on something that didn't substantially help the country, would you be willing to shut down the government?
I think that would be problematic. But again,
no, how problematic?
That would be problematic.
Would it be immoral?
I'm not president. Trump is president, and he shut down the government.
I guess what I'm saying is
we have to stay focused on that. Trump shut down the government.
In slow motion, dig through the sea of manure to the kernel of truth at the bottom.
Of course.
Through the sewer of filth.
Absolutely.
Okay? So the cost, the nature of the barrier, those are not relevant to anything. I think what we're talking about is the fear that what Trump is proposing might actually work. That's the actual
problem. There's no reason to believe that it's going to work.
So what is the Democratic plan that will work?
Again, they laid this out in the address that everybody's kind of making memes out of, which was actually kind of funny. They laid this out. They talked about surveillance. They talked about rebuilding the existing fencing.
What they funded is what's already in place. So are they saying that what we have is working?
They offered him $1.3 billion currently. They are offering him $1.3 billion.
They've offered what we already have.
Right.
So I'm just trying to figure out the argument. Are they saying that it's not a problem that needs to be addressed? Is that what they're saying?
No, they clearly said last night it needs to be addressed.
Okay.
And the problem is the wall is ineffective.
But they're addressing it by not spending more money than we're currently spending.
They are offering him $1.3 billion.
But that's already in play. I mean, that's already the plan. So they're saying simultaneously, it's a problem we need to fix, but we're not going to give you more money to fix it.
But I think Trump, and if I'm being my most generous here, I think Trump has a misunderstanding of our illegal immigration issue. It is not at our southern border. That is not where this is happening.
So what you're saying is it isn't actually a problem we need to fix.
No, I'll say it this way. It is a problem. Part of it is at our southern border, but the predominant issues that he's talking about are not from people at our southern border. So 9/11 was not caused by people coming in through Mexico.
It
was people flying in.
But really quick, so there is, I'm just trying to get to the truth. So there is a problem at our southern border, but we're not going to spend more money to fix it. We don't have any new ideas for how to fix it, but there is a problem. That's what we're saying.
It's like saying you have a cracked window and then you're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix a cracked window. That's not how you fix a cracked window.
So you just don't fix it at all?
No, you fix it with $1.3 billion that the Democrats are
what's already in
offering.
place, with doing exactly the same things we've been doing. That's going to fix it, but it's not going to fix it, but it is a problem, but not a problem worth fixing.
That's not what I said at all. I said that the border wall is $5 billion that would be wasted because it would stop a third of illegal immigration.
I get that, but I just don't understand.
I don't know what other way to say it. It's a waste of money because it's ineffective. And I don't think Trump understands our illegal immigration issue, and that's why he wants $5 billion for a wall that won't work.
I think that may be the one thing he does maybe some things Trump doesn't understand. I think he does understand that.
One thing for him would be nice.
Mr. Harris, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
The government shutdown is now entering its fourth week, and neither side has moved much. The president has been arguing for the past 3 years that the United States needs a wall on its southern border. Agree with his positions or not, Trump has explained why he believes that repeatedly and in great detail, most recently in a live address to the country. Democrats, meanwhile, have argued the opposite. America should not have a border wall, they've said again and again. But the difference is they really haven't explained why. At various times, Democratic leaders have told us that walls don't work, walls are racist, walls are wasteful, walls are insufficient, walls are excessive, and walls are too old-fashioned. Walls are either medieval or ancient, depending upon who's reading the talking point at the time. Some of these arguments are semi-real, others are transparently fake. Still others flatly contradict one another. Rhetorically, the Democratic case against walls has been a mess from the beginning. At one point, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tried to bring order to the chaos by flatly declaring that walls are immoral. She said that repeatedly with the force of a religious edict, which in effect it was. But in the end, the theology of it all was just too complex. It seemed to confuse people. How can walls be immoral if a lot of those who oppose walls have walls around their own homes? That was a tough case to make, even for a persistent faith leader like Nancy Pelosi. Finally, Pelosi just gave up. Yesterday, she accepted the inevitability of a border wall. But here's the catch, the hidden trap door in the space-time continuum that Pelosi is famous for in Washington. Yes, Democrats now support a border wall, but no, it's not the kind of wall you had in mind, the kind of wall you can touch or the kind of wall that might keep unwanted people out of your country. It is instead a digital wall. It's a massive, invisible edifice constructed entirely of virtual ones and zeros that reside in some Amazon server farm somewhere in suburban Virginia. It is the wall of the future, in other words, a wall that Google might build and probably will. Pelosi calls it a technological wall.
We are proposing is to build the infrastructure of the ports of entry, strengthen that, the ports of entry, spend the money, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, but accessible to have the scanning technology, to scan cars coming through for drugs, contraband of any kind, weapons even. Repair the roads, facilitate immigration and trade in those regions. The positive, shall we say, almost technological wall that can be built is what we should be doing.
Of course, a technological wall. Why didn't we think of that? But wait, you say, aren't all walls technological walls? The only difference, of course, is in the kind of technology they employ. Well, yes. But before you get hung up on some semantic point, just be grateful that Pelosi is using the W word at all. There was a time not so long ago when she was telling us that a fleet of lawnmowers would be enough to secure the border. Well, at a certain point, you begin to wonder if Democrats are really as serious as they say they are about wanting to secure our border. Maybe you've asked yourself that question. Well, wonder no more. They are not interested, officially. Democrats support our immigration crisis, which they will be quick to remind you isn't actually a crisis at all, but part of the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Democrats' main interest is in continuing the status quo, and they want to do that by making certain that no effective barrier is ever built along our southern border. To achieve that, Democrats and their faithful lackeys in the press will say anything, literally anything. Yesterday, to name but one among many examples, Democrat Katie Hill of California, a member of Congress, accused the president of engaging in a form of terrorism for disagreeing with her. Terrorism! Maybe that's next week's talking point. Check the Sunday shows to see if it makes an appearance there. This week, the phrase was vanity project. The wall, they're telling you, is somehow the president's vanity project, like a remodeled basement rec room or the Clinton Presidential Library. Some consultant thought up that line and emailed it to Pelosi and Schumer, who made certain that every Democrat in Washington included it in virtually every publicly uttered sentence for a period of at least 24 hours, which, of course, they were happy to do, being robots. Watch.
This issue is about a vanity project for this president.
Right.
Vanity? Well, that's a new concern in Washington. As it turns out, vanity is actually the main reason the left loves mass immigration in the first place. They let millions of poor people into your country at your expense, but they get to feel like heroes for doing it. It's really the equivalent of forcing a stranger to dump his wallet into the collection plate at gunpoint and then taking the tax deduction for it. It's a pretty great deal if you're the one holding the gun. In fact, you might call it the ultimate vanity project.